Open Doors algorithm just decided that the housing market is over. They're selling at discounts on purpose before everyone else figures it out. Trump just signed an executive order blocking Wall Street from buying single family homes. The biggest institutional buyers of the last 4 years are now the biggest sellers. Watch this so that you can navigate this crisis right away.
Imagine you have been renting in the same neighborhood for 3 years, watching homes get bought out from under you, not by families, by algorithms, by corporations with billion-dollar balance sheets that turned your potential starter home into a rental unit and charged you the mortgage payment they would have had anyway. You lost the bidding war before it started. Then one morning you wake up and the algorithm decides to sell all of it at a discount with subsidized financing to move it faster. And a sitting president just signed an executive order to make sure it never happens again. That is not a housing story. That is the unwinding of a 40-year mistake. And the people who do not understand the mechanism are the ones who are going to get hurt by the reset. On January 20th, President Trump signed an executive order titled Stopping Wall Street from Competing with Main Street Homebuyers. Reuters confirmed it, CNBC confirmed it. The White House fact sheet said it plainly. People live in homes, not corporations. That same week, 6 states moved legislation targeting institutional residential portfolios. Ohio with heavy taxation, California, New York, Minnesota, Nebraska, and North Carolina all advancing bills. Senate Democrats introduced the American Homeownership Act on February 24th, targeting any entity owning more than 50 single-family rentals. The House passed the Housing for the 21st Century Act with bipartisan support. And then the third thing happened. Opendoor, the algorithmic iBuyer that went public at a $4.8 billion valuation in 2020, started selling its inventory at heavy discounts, not small discounts. Opendoor launched an in-house mortgage product in Colorado at 4.99%, nearly 2 full points below the market rate of 6.89%. When an algorithm subsidizes buyers with below-market financing to clear its own inventory, it has named the top. Here is why this matters to you. The Resolution Trust Corporation ran this exact play in 1989. Institutional capital flooded into real estate. The economics shifted. The institutions that bought at the top started losing money on every transaction. Regulatory pressure forced liquidation. The liquidation created an inventory wave that reset comparable sales across entire Sun Belt metros. Houston and Phoenix did not recover to pre-crisis levels until 1997, 8 years later. That mechanism is running again right now. The algorithm already made its decision. The executive order is already signed. The legislation is already moving. And it is actually worse than it looks, because the executive order does not ban institutional buying outright. It restricts federal support channels, federal financing, federal insurance, federal securitization. Institutional investors can still buy with cash. The order does not force divestiture of existing portfolios, which means the real pressure is not coming from Washington. The real pressure is coming from Opendoor's earnings report. Today, I want to walk you through what the executive order actually does and what it does not do. What Opendoor's pricing model is telling you that no human realtor will say out loud. What the 1989 parallel tells us about how long the reset runs and which zip codes get hit first. I want you to meet Dave. Dave is in his 40s, lives in Texas. He is a renter, not by choice, by math. Between 2020 and 2024, Dave watched institutional buyers outbid families in his neighborhood. He watched homes sell above asking within hours. He watched Invitation Homes, American Homes for Rent, and Opendoor absorb inventory that would have been his starter home. Dave did not lose a bidding war to another family. He lost it to an algorithm with a $4.8 billion balance sheet. Now Dave is watching something different. He is watching the exit. And the exit is what tells you the cycle has turned. One of our subscribers, Professor Professorson, wrote with 20 likes, "Been in this game for 25 plus years, and I have never seen it this bad. This is going to get worse than 2008. Another subscriber, Edward Steinmetz, wrote with 21 likes, "For the algorithm, but MSN says there is a housing shortage. They are both seeing the same thing. The mainstream narrative has not caught up to what the algorithm is already doing. Here is what Open Door's numbers are actually saying. Open Door's Q1 2026 earnings tell the real story. Revenue fell 38% year over year to $720 million. Net loss widened to $173 million from $85 million a year ago. The number of homes sold fell 35%. Full year 2025 was worse. Revenue dropped to $4.37 billion from $5.15 billion, and the company posted a $1.3 billion net loss. CEO Kaz Najatian told investors on the May 7th earnings call that Open Door had a fatal flaw. His words, "The old model made directional bets on where home prices would go. When predictions were wrong, it widened spreads and slowed acquisitions. But widening spreads changed the funnel. Worse homes came in. Worse margins fed back into the model. The system got more conservative. Spreads widened further. Najatian called it a machine that amplifies its own losses. Every defensive move made everything worse." So Najatian changed the question the model was designed to answer. Instead of predicting where prices will be in 3 months, the model now asks how fast it can sell the home it is about to buy. Speed over direction. That sounds like a fix until you look at what speed requires. Open Door launched subsidized mortgages at 4.99% to clear its own inventory. The company cut aged inventory, homes on market over 120 days, from 33% of its book to 10% in a single quarter. Not because demand recovered, because they slashed prices and paid buyers to take the homes. Acquisition contracts doubled quarter over quarter to 5,000, the highest since 2022. When you double your buy rate while revenue is falling 38% and losses are widening, you are not recovering. You are cycling faster through a model that is underwater. Here is what the executive order actually does and does not do. Section 3 directs the Secretary of HUD, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the Director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and related agencies to issue guidance within 60 days, preventing federal programs from approving, ensuring, guaranteeing, or facilitating acquisitions of single-family homes by large institutional investors.
Hey everyone, real quick, if you see the writing on the wall, this video is showing you that we're going to see a deeper downturn in the housing market, and you want to get ready for it. You want to either buy your dream house, refinance your house, you want to, or you want to buy rentals, right? You want to take advantage. Links down below, the real estate crash bundle. I think it's a game changer. It's going to teach you about real estate cycles. It's going to teach you about what to do in a bear market for real estate, how to buy it at the best price. It's going to teach you how to sell them, flip them if you want, or rent them properly. And then it's going to teach you how to list them online using social media. It's a huge game changer. Links down below. Now let's get back to the video.
The White House proposed defining large institutional investor as any entity owning 100 or more single-family homes. Section 4 directs the Attorney General and the FTC to review institutional acquisitions for anti-competitive effects and to prioritize enforcement against coordinated vacancy and pricing strategies. Here is what it does not do. It does not ban cash purchases. It does not force divestiture of existing portfolios. Greenberg Trauerig's legal analysis confirmed it restricts federal support channels only. The American Enterprise Institute's Housing Center found that large institutional investors owned approximately 1% of the entire single-family housing stock. But that 1% is concentrated. Institutional holdings cluster in Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. The same Sunbelt metros where prices ran hardest between 2020 and 2024, and where inventory is now building fastest. Now, the 1989 parallel that tells you exactly how long this reset runs. August 9th, 1989, Congress passed FIREA and established the Resolution Trust Corporation to manage the savings and loan crisis fallout. Over the previous decade, hundreds of S&Ls had made increasingly risky real estate bets. When those bets failed, the institutions became insolvent. The RTC's mission was to close failed institutions and liquidate their assets. Between 1989 and 1995, the RTC closed or resolved 747 thrifts with total assets of $394 billion. The RGC sold those assets at heavy discounts, pooled sales, bulk auctions, sealed bids. The Federal Reserve's historical analysis confirmed that Texas was the epicenter. Commercial real estate prices across the Sun Belt dropped 25 to 40%. Houston and Phoenix did not recover to pre-crisis levels until 1997. The mechanism was identical to what is running today. Institutional capital floods in during easy money. Economics shift. Institutions start losing money on every transaction. Regulatory or market pressure forces liquidation. The liquidation creates an inventory wave that resets comparable sales across entire metros. The comp reset pulls down prices for everyone, not just the institutional sellers, but every homeowner in the affected zip codes. In 1989, the trigger was federal intervention and S&L insolvency. In 2026, the trigger is a presidential executive order, 6 states moving legislation simultaneously, and an algorithm that has already decided to sell. A subscriber named Lame Barker wrote with 20 likes, "Houses went up 100% in 4 years. A $40,000 discount is a laughable rounding error." Another subscriber, Mrs. Carter, wrote, "Dallas new builds are so desperate. I went to a few and they are giving me 20,000 off 500,000 free upgrades." They are seeing the early stage of the inventory wave. The discounts are small now, 20,000 here, 40,000 there, subsidized mortgage rates, free upgrades, but the mechanism does not stop at small discounts. When institutional sellers need to clear inventory to meet quarterly targets, the discounts deepen. When the discounts deepen, the comparable sales reset. When the comps reset, every home in the neighborhood reprices, including the one owned by the family next door who was not selling. Here is what to watch. 4 signals. First, Open Doors quarterly inventory reports. When homes on the balance sheet exceed 90 days average hold time and the company is still doubling acquisition contracts, the liquidation is accelerating. Second, institutional REIT filings. Watch Invitation Homes and American Homes for Rent quarterly reports for net disposition activity. When they shift from net buyers to net sellers. Third, the 60-day guidance deadline from Trump's executive order. When agencies publish definitions of large institutional investor and restrictions on federal program access, institutional buying freezes and selling accelerates. Fourth, Sunbelt inventory levels in Dallas, Phoenix, Atlanta, Charlotte, Jacksonville, and Las Vegas. These are the metros where the wave hits first. 2 neighborhoods on the same street in a Sunbelt metro. One bought by Wall Street in 2021 at the peak. Institutional capital, algorithmic pricing, rental yield optimization. The other bought by a family. Same square footage, same school district, same year built. 3 years from now, the institutional neighborhood has inventory sitting, comps resetting. The algorithm that bought those homes has already decided to sell, and it does not care what the comp does to the house next door. The family neighborhood held its value, not because the market was kind, because families do not liquidate on a quarterly earnings call. Families do not offer subsidized mortgages to clear a balance sheet. Families do not answer to shareholders who need adjusted EBITDA break-even by Q4. Dave is still renting, but the algorithm that outbid him in 2022 is now paying buyers to take the same home at a discount. The question is whether Dave understands the mechanism well enough to be the buyer before the comp reset makes the discount look small. Economic Ninja is out.